Hey everyone. Yesterday we talked about joy, kind of take off on a lot of the stuff that we do in career exploration to help students find their own path. But today we're going to talk about results. And I'm actually standing here in our waiting area. This is where kids typically come in, and you can see there's our welcome board with all of our students for the weekend listed on it. But if you notice behind me, those are this year's seniors and the list of schools to which they were accepted. And, there's great schools here on the walls, and it's not just here in our waiting area, it's actually all the way down the hallway in our little classroom. And one of the reasons I like to put up all of these different schools is to expand a student's thought process. Let them think about, like, what else is out there for me? What other opportunities might I be missing if I don't know about them? And that's the thing. Usually they just don't know about them. So we're really proud of our students and the schools to which they were accepted. But one of the things we noticed in this year's cycle is how incredibly important test scores have become again. And I know we don't want to talk about test scores a lot because we're hearing the words test optional. We think, oh, with test optional, we don't have to put that pressure on our kids. But I'm going to tell you, there's nothing worse than hearing that two of your classmates were accepted to a school and you had the same GPA and you weren't. And that's what happened this year. In looking at this year's applicants and their results, we saw several schools that claimed to be test optional prioritize students with test scores. So out of 7 students from this area that applied to the University of Michigan, 6 were accepted. All 6 submitted test scores. The one who was not accepted did not submit their test scores, but had a GPA higher than 3 of the ones that were accepted. And all the ones that were accepted were in similar programs and kind of selective programs. I have a student from Michigan in Michigan with a 4.4 GPA, did not submit test scores, was deferred from the University of Michigan. I'm on a couple other college admission Facebook groups, and I saw parents posting just yesterday that their child didn't submit test scores to Clemson and did not get in despite having a superior GPA and a great resume. And I'm not saying it's necessarily 100%, it wasn't the test scores, but if you keep seeing the same things, you have to think there's a correlation there. No test scores, deferred. So why are test scores important, or why are they creeping back in and becoming important? And keep in mind, University of Tennessee, flagship state school, requires test scores. MIT requires test scores. Purdue requires test scores. So we're seeing more schools starting to go that way. Dartmouth started requiring test scores again. And what we're hearing, and the Dean of Admissions from Dartmouth put out a great uh, letter along with graphs and tables, and she showed the correlation between kids with good test scores and how they were performing in college. And you took students with identical high school GPAs. Some had submitted test scores, some did not. And what they found was a significant, at least half a point difference in their freshman GPA in college. And what does that matter? As long as they're passing. Well, it matters because colleges want high performing students because they want them to go out and become gainfully employed, especially when you're talking about these Ivies. They need those students to get great jobs so that they can keep promoting that they're a better option. And when students are getting a 3.0, a 2.9, a 2.8 in college, they're going to struggle to get those great jobs. And they said with that correlation, that was the determining factor to go back to requiring test scores. There's so much GPA inflation out there that a 4.4 at one school isn't the same as a 4.4 at another school. And in order to better evaluate students and make it an even playing field, standardized test scores are the same. Doesn't matter if they're AP scores, if they're ACT, SAT, it's one uniform score across the board. Everybody took the same test. And we're seeing that even here in Ohio. One of the admission reps in Ohio told me last year, if a kid doesn't have an ACT or an SAT, they better have a couple AP scores, because that's going to, help us better evaluate where they fall. And so I can't stress enough how important it is to consider, putting a little work into some test prep, into those tests, so that you gain the score that you need to be accepted at the schools you want. Because, like I said, there's nothing worse than going, oh, my GPA is better than that kid. That kid got accepted and I didn't, but that kid submitted test scores. So it's something for you to think about. Again, we're seeing it more and more, hearing about it more and more. I'm seeing it in the other Facebook admission groups where parents are complaining that their kids were deferred at schools, and those kids, ironically, did not submit test scores. And it's frustrating because I know these college reps are still telling kids, I'm hearing it from my students, from our students, that, oh, we're test optional, go ahead and submit. But keep in mind, they're incentivized to increase applicants, but that doesn't mean they're accepting any more students. So they're increasing applicants by, I feel, giving a little bit of false hope. Now, there's some schools that are truly, unbiased by that, but the direction is clearly heading towards, if you have a test score, you are in so much better shape when applying and so much more likely to get accepted, especially at the highly selective schools. So I wanted to share this with you so that it's not too late in the game. If you're concerned about this, you'd like to have a conversation about it, or you would like access to our virtual test prep. Our average student goes up 4 to 8 points. We have a whole virtual test prep. We send you everything, all the materials, answer keys, and it includes one session with someone here on my staff, one of our success coaches, to walk through any areas your child's still struggling with. But it covers every area, ACT, SAT, and really gives you that information. It's virtual, it's super easy. Your child can do it at their own pace, and they get that complimentary consultation with us to go through the area in which they're struggling, or a couple areas if they have questions. We're happy to help them. So if you would like to either have a conversation or you'd like that virtual test prep, drop the word results down below, and I'll be happy to get in touch with you and see, how we can better prepare your child so that they can get the results they want, the results you want. And keep in mind, I'm also seeing some test scores tied to scholarships. So if you're like, yeah, my kid doesn't need a really selective school, but you are looking for scholarships, I'm seeing some of that as well. So I just think that's kind of the direction that we're going to see more schools headed, and it will affect scholarship funds. So, be prepared early so that your kid's not saying, oh, I wish I would have, when it's too late. Drop results down below. We can talk about it, or we can send you the virtual test prep, which is a game changer for students. We'll talk to you soon.